Reporters Roundtable provides viewers with in-depth examination of issues reported on leading media outlets across the world. A lively panel of journalists with comprehensive knowledge in all fields of endeavor, be it politics, health, business, sports, entertainment, information, communication technology, gender, law, international affairs and diplomacy, and a host of others will objectively dissect the matter of contention. On Reporters Roundtable, fairness, objectivity, factuality, and non-partisanship is our hallmark. It's the Double RT Show with Rebecca Ewa. This and every other Thursday from 10 to 12 GMT. Make a date with us. The Reporters Roundtable, all angles, all sides.
A wonderful day it is. Welcome aboard a show produced by Mark Sesu, Felix Kofi and Celestina V and proudly sustained by the LAS Liberty School 43 Kinshasa Avenue, East Legon, Health West Ghana, an Ayurvedic clinic that guarantees a new dimension in wellness. Ashrifia Wear, a clothing line with exclusive touch inside a Denton near the Goyle filling station, and one woman I so cherish, Mrs. Letitia Amafodankwa. Keep on supporting us. Today we'll touch on one topic very relevant to the elections. My panelists are seated. Lloyd Evans is a former business editor of the Daily Graphic and currently the president of the Institute of Financial and Economic Journalists, IFEJ. Mrs. Yaa Oforiwa Asare Peasah is a news editor with the Ghana News Agency GNA, and the multiple award-winning journalist is also here in the studios, Felix Dela Klutse. He is the managing editor for Business Day newspaper, and Ebenezer Aryee is a news editor with GBC24, your all-news channel. More often, we see the front runners, the reporters or journalists, but there are the unseen hands and final arbiters, so to say, who beat the story into shape for publishing and for broadcast. They are responsible for final scrutiny of important news stories by all correspondents, giving special attention to facts and figures in the write-ups, and wherever in doubt, they take pains to check up their accuracy from authentic sources. Any slip on their parts can land the media house into trouble. Wondering who I'm referring to? Just touching on but a few of the functions and responsibilities of news editors. Have you for once considered their role in the upcoming elections? The 2016 election will test the greatness, strength and patriotism of many institutions, including the media. As the mirror of society, the media will reflect and fan the embers of all the tension and conflict of polarized Ghana if given the free range, the consequences of which would not be good for the country. But who is to see to it that the stories go through the mill to ensure neutrality and balanced reportage in order not to erode the democratic gains and successes we have achieved since the birth of the Fourth Republic? Truly, the media is a tool for promoting transparency and credibility of elections. Then the news editors have got a rather bigger role to play to ensuring a peaceful and violent-free polls through the pen, which is considered mightier than the sword. The role of news editors in ensuring a peaceful election is what we will be delving into. I am your chief servant, and I will ask the weightier questions that demand answers on your behalf. Send us your text resulting to the number that will come up your screen shortly, like our Facebook page, the Reporters Roundtable, and send in your comments and suggestions. Happy to see you all and happy to have you all as my guest for the Reporters Roundtable. Let me start with you, Mrs. Peasah. Would you want to tell us who an ideal news editor is or should be, having mentioned some of the responsibilities of a news editor?
Thank you very much. The news editor's job, it doesn't end. At the end of the day, you are working throughout the day and night. Traditionally, the news editor is supposed to supervise the newsroom, the work in the newsroom, and the reporters in general. It requires a lot of planning because you have daily events that you have to follow at any point in time. And you need to plan as to who should do what at any given time to get the best result at the end of the day. So you plan, you groom your reporters as to what they should be doing. You give them beats on what questions they should be asking when you prepare your roster. After you prepare your roster, you have to give them some kind of briefing to prepare them well to be able to cover the issues that they are going out for. After this, you don't rest. You also have to be editing. Whatever they go out there to bring, you have to sit down and edit and make sure that whatever they have brought suits the policy of the office, and also goes out there to meet the demands or the requests, or to meet the eyes of the public, because you are supposed not to be biased. You have to be as objective as possible, because you don't have to put yourself in the story. You have to be neutral. So you sit down and work on the stories as much as possible to get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, so that whatever you put out there will meet the standard everybody requires. Okay. Then it doesn't end there. A news editor should also be looking outside the box. You see, because you have daily events. You don't know what other people are doing. So you have to be listening, reading, and talking to other people as to what they are doing, so that you also cover issues that you get issues that you can follow up. You see, maybe I have 5 or 10 assignments for the day, but that should not be enough. I listen to the radio. I have about 5 radio stations that I listen to. I watch television. I speak to colleagues. What is on the ground? What are we doing today? What is happening? Even my sub-editors, I speak to them a lot, because I cannot carry the job alone. So I talk to people to get what is on the ground, so that we can also do follow-ups and then get the issues across to the public. Thank you.
Dela,
yeah,
your take?
Well, to get to that position of being a news editor is not a joke. It's one of the tedious work you can even think of, and then one of the strategic role in a newsroom. Unfortunately, people think it's the reporter that does almost all the work. But to get to that role, you need to be very experienced, someone that has an eye for details. Sometimes you send a reporter for an assignment, the person comes, and then what you are looking out for, the portion of the story that is so newsworthy is buried down there. It is up to you to bring that thing up. So you serve like a gatekeeper, meaning that as to whether this story should go or not, checking of headlines here and there. And in doing that, if you are not careful, as Jama said, you could plunge the whole country into trouble, especially in this election year. As you are in a competition, and you are also to strike a balance between the ethics of this noble professional journalism and then economic interest of your organization. If care is not taken, you are swayed at one side, and that could plunge the whole country into trouble. So it's a serious work, and then it calls for serious people to be able to know this is news, to be able to know this, I cannot do it, I cannot send this particular news item at this particular time. And as he said, looking at competition that is going on, listening to radio, listening to television, if it's newspaper, you are reading what your other colleagues are doing, so that when you are putting out something there, you know that this is accurate. So checking of facts is also very important. You can send a reporter on an assignment, the person can bring a story, sometimes you are not too clear on certain issues. You have to go back and then cross-check your facts very well. Otherwise, you're going to have yourself in a deep trouble, including your media house as well.
Is that you? I see you nodding. What else do you have to add?
Yeah, I think my two colleagues have laid the foundation. They have given out most of the answers. And what Auntie Yaa was telling you as a news editor, your role is not just about looking at the script, taking out maybe wrong grammar or correcting grammar, or cutting out portions that may not be very necessary. It includes listening to issues, reports, listening to radio or television or any news channel anywhere. You see, because as a news editor, you need to be very much in tune with information around the world. And that is very important. It helps you to know what is important to be in the news and what is not. If you are not following events, sometimes what you allow to go into the bulletin may be something that has happened already, that has been reported long ago. And it helps you in many ways, especially for those of us working in the electronic media. Listening to radio, for instance, listening to the BBC, helps you to know the correct pronunciation of names and things like that. What it also means is that as a news editor, you need to be very knowledgeable. You need to be broad-minded. You need to have ideas about so many things, because our work cuts across. We report on economics, agriculture, sports, so many things. And you, the news editor, your specialty may not be sports, but a sports report is brought to you. Now, if your attitude has been, I'm not interested in sports, you are going to have problems. You may not be able to edit the sports story well. The reporter who has brought you the story may not be a very experienced person. Okay. Now, sports may not even be the best example. Now we are talking about elections, politics. There are so many things. Imagine you are the type of editor who is not conversant with political issues very much. You can have a problem. There are so many. You started by asking who an ideal editor is. I don't know your definition of ideal editor, but what is obvious is that an ideal editor or editor, a good editor, is the one who is competent in the sense that he's knowledgeable, he has good command of language. If a reporter comes with a report and the ideas are not very well expressed, the editor, it is the role of the editor to shape the report up. That is, you change the language and you make it sound better. So it's a whole lot. And then, apart from that, an ideal editor or a good editor should also be the one who can think on his feet. Because sometimes some of the reports that come before you may be something, they may be dicey, or may be about issues that you have to be very careful of. And so if you can't think quickly about the best decision to take, you may land everybody into trouble. You can err in the case of electronic media. You can air the report. If it is a newspaper or whichever news channel, you may end up publishing a story that will bring a lot of trouble to your organization, the organization you are working for. It may land the whole country into trouble. So there are a whole lot of things. But I think as the program goes on, I'm sure more of the ideas will come. Yeah, sure. Because I know that there are so many things we are going to talk about.
We need to talk about.
I don't want to preempt some of the things that.
Lloyd,
Yeah.
What else would you have to add?
As a news editor or editor for that matter, as they rightly said, you have to be very knowledgeable. And then the most important thing for me is that you should know your reporters. You should know them very well, not by their names, but by their strength and capabilities. You know what a reporter can do. You know what this reporter can do. You know what that reporter cannot do. So if there is a breaking news, and even that reporter is even at home, you can confidently call him or her that, Jack, there is this issue at this place. Can you please quickly rush to the place and see what is happening? And you are sure of the person bringing you the best. But if you don't know your reporters, you don't know their strength, you don't know their capabilities, and you are just there for the sake of it, you will always be sending the wrong reporter to the good place, and you might not have what it deserves. So for a news editor, you must always know your reporters, put them in various categories. Then again, as a news editor, you must also have a good research team behind you, because you might not know everything. So the thing crops up, you call one of them, go to the library, check on these things for me and let me get the facts, the figures, and the dates which these things happened. Then you will be able to be a very good news editor. Without that, you can have the people, you don't know what they are doing, and they'll be just there, and you just call one of them and send them, and you won't have the right thing. So as a news editor, you must have a good team, and that team, you must know them well, and know them not by their names, but what they are capable of doing.
Dela, let me come to you. How crucial is your role, especially in an election year or during any national event? Does your role vary at all? Is it different from the usual thing that we know of?
Well, it's not too different. Election year like this, where the country, everybody claims is winning, especially all the political parties, and tension is so high. As an editor, I have to make sure that, especially if I send a reporter to an assignment and then it brings the story, how the tension is so high, I have to shape that language and bring the tone down that will make it so healthy for the nation. So mind you, I may be looking at maybe economic interest, or I may be looking at putting up a story where, it can create some sort of incitement for people to buy a newspaper or want to listen to your station. But then, while doing that, you got to be very careful, because you are in a season where everybody's afraid, everybody's talking about agent of peace, people are hearing here and there, there will be violence, there will be no violence. So it depends on you now as a gatekeeper to be able to ensure that whatever information you are sending to the public, you was able to shape it so that when the public receive it, there can be no kind of trouble. So it's basically the same, but even this one, I got to work out more by knowing more about the electoral rules and regulations, even telling my reporters to know more. So even if the story comes, we need to sit down again and then think through before sending the story outside there, because the little problem might have plunged the whole country, into trouble. We may be looking at deadline. So maybe you want to let the story go quickly, or you are looking at competition because you may think that, if I don't send this news out, my competitor will, break out the news. So you might be tempted of sending out an information that you are not even too sure. If this happened, then you are not playing your role well as a gatekeeper, and you can plunge this country into big chaos. And when it happens, where will be our media houses? This is the only country we have.
Auntie, are you concurring?
Yes, I think so, because you see, I have a peculiar agency. I'm not like the station in the hem, but because we give out a lot of information to our subscribers, and it goes everywhere. So we will not be meeting deadlines like he's doing. So we have, though we also work with deadlines, because at least we have to send stories out for our subscribers to get them before the close of the day, so that they can pick which one they want to use. But then, it's in an election year like this, the work is a bit not normal. It's a bit unusual because you have to be very careful and tread a path that will not, weigh you on the left or on the right. I remember just last week, a group of people who were claiming to be supporting one of the political parties brought a statement. So it was a hard copy. So I gave it to one of my reporters to do a story. And she came back and said, Auntie, about this. And I said, go and do it. Go and do the story. I've given you work. Go. She went and I said, go and do the story for me. She thought I was being harsh. But then, we cannot say we are not doing the story because somebody is using a kind of language. It is up to us, as a media, as an editor, to sieve through whatever information you have got and bring out the good side. So I pushed her to go and do the story. At the end of the day, it was a full page whatever, but we gave the person or the group 5 paragraphs, and it was well polished. All the harsh words, all the insults, all the whatever, I made sure that everything was gone. When I finished editing, I called the lady, come and read your story. She said, oh, Auntie, how were you able to? And I said, yes. We cannot say because somebody is using harsh words or insulting somebody, we are not working. We are supposed to be working. We are here to come and work. Let's do the work. Yours is to type the story or do the story for me. It's up to me to do the right thing at the right time. Sometimes it's not easy, but then we insist. We have to be very objective so that you don't offend any other party or individuals. Try and be in the middle and work accordingly.
Lloyd, what if your party interest comes to bear as a news editor?
In fact, this is the point where we have to take it very seriously. This is where our gatekeeping rule becomes very paramount. And I think Dela has alluded to it. If we underestimate our gatekeeping rule, we'll be creating chaos and anarchy in the country. You see, and some of our media, institutions are guilty of some of these things. They let things go just as it comes in, and it has created problems, not for themselves alone, but for the country. And now, even other political parties are, leveraging on those bad expressions and utterances. But as a news editor, you have a great responsibility on your shoulders. In fact, more than the editor himself or herself. Because now you have to really either open the gate or close it, or know how and when to open it and when to close it. That is to say, when these things come to you, as Auntie Yaa has said, how do you sieve them? How do you rewrite them? How do you present them? And this is a very difficult task. So if you have a political affiliation and you are so deep-seated in that your political environment, you will find it very difficult to be an independent news editor. You will find it very difficult. You will never see wrong from right. You will never see black from white. You will never, because you've clouded your judgment, your everything in that quagmire of political expediency. So as a news editor, you must, as much as possible, try to bury your political leanings before you be able to be a very good news editor. So for me, as a news editor, you have an uphill task to take. And if you don't do that, you create more problems, more chaos. And your paper would, or your news station or your news organization would just be branded as ABC party, CS party. You have a role, a critical role to play when it comes to that direction.
Ms. Aryee, differing roles during elections for news editors.
I would say news editors' role in ensuring sanity in society is not only during elections, but it becomes more important during the election period. And as Mr. Lloyd Evans has said, if you are not careful, you cause trouble. So what we do is we don't allow, we are human beings. we have our political leanings. But you see, in the first place, the rules governing our profession, journalism, compel us to have self-control so that the story may not favor your party, but you have to let it go, providing it is not going to incite people. You understand? If it is a fact, it is not in favor of your party, your professional ethics require you to let it go. If there is anything in the story which is inflammatory or which can cause trouble, then you have to mold the story, or sometimes on rare occasions, if you can't necessarily, you don't use the story at all. So, and especially in an election period, you are extra careful. You know, Auntie Yaa gave a scenario where a reporter brings a story and it's not well written, or it's not a good story, or the story is such that it can lead the organization into trouble. But you are able to treat the story in a way that it sounds decent. And that is the fact. But especially for those of us at TV, it is not just the script. You know, for us, you write the script, it is voice, what we call voiceover. You hear somebody narrating the story. But on location, somebody spoke, somebody delivered a speech. And you usually pick the very exciting part of the speech, which is called soundbite. Now you, the editor, sitting behind the desk, you may not have listened to the video. So yes, you look at the script. The script may have come in a very nice way. In fact, it doesn't show that there's going to be anything unsavory. But you may be surprised that when it goes on air and you hear the sound bites, you yourself, you start panicking before your bosses start calling you, asking you questions. So what we do, especially in this election period, as has been the case in all elections, is that although we don't always have the luxury of time to go and listen to the video,
yeah, I was
this
about
time,
asking that.
yes, this time before we go on air, you watch the video and listen to what
particularly the sound bites.
The sound bites.
Yeah, okay.
Because you know, politicians sometimes will say things that they themselves know are not very good, but they will say it. You know, and I would like to use this scenario. You know, politicians sometimes behave like boxers in the ring. There are various tactics they use to get at their opponents. It could be to provoke you to throw blows and get weak, you understand, so that they can get you and hit you. So, just like the boxer who will pretend to expose his face and step back quickly to avoid being hit, politician will use words that he knows will offend his opponent, but he will use them. You understand? And it is not just because he knows he has something in mind. You see, I may not like to cite specific cases, but sometimes you realize that a presidential candidate who is reacting to something that his opponent has said is rather considered to be a bad person because maybe he went too far in his reaction. That is what I have noticed. And so, you know, some of these things, it is for you, the editor, to ensure that they don't find their way on air. Yeah, after the bulletin, as I said, the script, you may see it, but the sound bite, when it goes on air, you are in trouble. So it's a whole lot of things. But the role of the editor, as Auntie Yaa said earlier, a good editor is also the one who supervises effectively and trains his reporters. Am I right? Because you cannot do all the work alone. So before you even send somebody out, in the newsroom, we know the weight or the scale of events, stories. So it's not everybody who is asked to cover For instance, a big event, let's say an event involving the president or very big stakeholders, or an event about a serious national issue. You cannot, for instance, send somebody who is on attachment or on national service, or somebody who is even a staff member of the organization or a staff reporter, but who is not very experienced. You see, so to some extent, editing starts from even assigning people to cover events, whether it is even a feature the person is doing. Once he's going to interview somebody, especially if it is something related to election or politicians, then you have to be very careful who you ask to do what. So there are so many things. Basically, you have to make sure that the information that goes out, if for nothing at all, it will unite the country, not to divide us. So we do all that.
Okay, so today you are hearing from the people behind the scripts or the stories you see on air or read in the newspaper. They are the news editors. And this is the Reporters Roundtable. We seek to bring all these people so that you get to tease out their roles and know it well to the betterment of our nation. We'll go for a quick breather, and when we come back, we'll continue with our discussion. My name is Rebecca Ewa. Keep watching the Reporters Roundtable on GBC24 this and every other Thursday.
The Reporters Roundtable has come at the time that it should. It's a very important program. We are now going to educate the public about our practice and hopefully inform them about the work we do and how we do it. Keep watching Reporters Roundtable.
If you want to understand what journalism is all about, watch Reporters Roundtable, because here we criticize ourselves, we learn from one another, and try to put our profession on track.
Journalism is dynamic, and as part of our responsibility, we are supposed to go out there, fish for information for the public. Today in Ghana, it is our duty to ensure that the masses know what is going on in society. Reporters Roundtable is a program that you can get all these things. Watch Reporters Roundtable with Rebecca Ewa this and every Thursday.
You're welcome back. You can send in your messages to 02444-75422. You send us your comments on our Facebook platform, and we will read it here right on the program. Lloyd, would you say that news editors have over the years passed the test of scrutinizing or using their discretionary power to scrutinize most especially political stories?
Oh yes, I can say for sure. Especially when it comes to the state media houses, where I've been there for so many years. We actually go to that extreme length to scrutinize stories or articles where once a while it's a human institution, one or two things might slip by But I can say for sure that 98%, you know, have been able to pass that test. And you'll be surprised, you know, the way and manner news editors are even appointed. You know, they make sure that there's a very senior person, you know, a level-headed person, you know, someone who knows his or her stuff. So I can say, yes, most times they do pass that test. It's a very difficult test, but they manage to pass those, you know, tests. Yes.
Who marks that script?
Oh well, in the public. I mean, you see, when the public listens to your radio station, your television station, or your newspaper, they can tell that this is a fair paper, this is a fair report. I mean, if they started saying those things, then it means that you, the news editor, you, the editor, you, the editorial team, have been able to pass that test of time. But if they always brand you, oh, this is a CPP paper, this is a UP paper, this is that, then you haven't passed that test. But as a newspaper, as a news organization, you should be able to be fair, equitable, truthful to all your readers. That is the hallmark of a good paper. Yes, you can also have your leanings, but in doing so, you have to be very cautious and careful, and then serve the greater, you know, public than that small group of people.
Mrs. Peasah.
Thank you. I think
we are speaking for
Ghana News Agency.
Yes, the news editors in a totality.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will start by saying that sometimes I'm happy I work for the Ghana News Agency because we have some policies or policy statement that we always want to go by. You have to be accurate, objective, and then
Fair.
truthful as much as possible. You understand? If you are an editor or a news editor who keeps swaying on one side at any point in time, it means you are not reliable, you are not credible. You understand? So, to me, I think that, like Loy said, those of us in the state media, we have, as much as possible, worked up to this task, because in my long years of service at the agency, we have not had any cause to complain. And most of the time, we hear the public saying on sometimes radio, saying that, oh, GNA is credible, so and so is credible. So I think we'll take the credit for that.
Rebecca, for the public one, fine, to some large extent, they exercise their discretion. The problem is always with the private media. Like the case, sometimes the editor wants to be objective. They want to say, okay, this story, I'm not sure it's too good to go for the public to read. But the owner of the organization says, hey, look, let this story go because the person promised us 1, 2, 3 adverts. If the story do not go, we're going to lose that economic benefit. So you will see at that time, the editor want to push the story, even though he's not all too happy about it. And here like the case, we have so many media houses in Ghana, especially the private ones, that endorse political parties. When it happened that way, there's no way, you were just waiting for the story to come from that party A or party B. You want to push that story. And if you look around, especially with the newspapers, you realize that every political season, we have a lot of newspapers. As soon as the election is over, they all die down.
Why is it so?
Yeah, well, somebody wants to propagate his agenda.
Yeah.
And I think it's about time if, as editors, gatekeepers, we try as much as possible to give blackout to politicians who make those statements that can plunge the country into chaos. I think they'll stop it. Because it looks like the more they make those statements, the media gladly, publish it for them. So they think that, look, we are looking for news, so they can make any sort of statement, and we put it out there. But if it's about time we start giving them blackout and tell them that, look, this country belongs to all of us. You can't plunge this country into trouble. And the people out there don't get to know about what is happening because we work behind the scene. I mean, those stuff.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Have we passed that test?
Yeah, we have. We have GBC, we have. I'm speaking on behalf of all editors at GBC. You know, the private newspapers, or the private radio or whatever, private stations, they can get a bashing for doing the wrong thing and they don't care. Because the owner of that radio station or newspaper has an agenda. So they don't care if they are biased and people complain. But for us, in the state-owned media, we are expected to be even more objective because almost every Ghanaian has a stake in GBC. We are there to serve the public fairly and objectively. And therefore, you know, it is part of our policy, aside all other rules governing our work. It is part of our policy to ensure that whatever we do, we are fair to the public. And so I would say that we have passed the test. Although we may not be able to measure exactly to what extent. There may be a few people out there who would think that we are not. But judging from what I have seen, many people in this country consider GBC as a very professional news organization. And you see from even the frustration with which they come wanting us to cover their events. And some of the comments they make, why they think that GBC should cover their events. Okay, but we may have other side. There may be a few people out there who think we are biased. We are not. But there is something also which is very interesting. Politicians, sometimes when they are in opposition, they think that GBC is not being fair to them. When they are in government, they may not complain. But when they are in opposition, they think that, you know, you understand what I mean. So it is not everybody who will see GBC as being fair. But by and large, we have passed the test. I think that from what, as I said earlier, I mean, many people who want their events covered will prefer GBC, especially when they want coverage from television or radio. If it is newspaper, we don't run a newspaper. So.
Right. So let me still dwell on you. Have you had that experience where a political party or a politician have got to influence editorial content or policy of, let's say, GBC, which you work with?
It has happened before.
Share with us the experience.
Well, let me start the experience of, let me start the case of, let me say about a little over 10 years ago, something happened. I was then a new person here. And then a story went on air about Ghana Airways, Ghana International Airways. If you remember, in early 2000, around 2004, the Ghana Airways went into a business deal or a merger with a South African airline. It became Ghana International Airlines. And things were not going very well with the airline. There were problems. There were times that passengers were stranded because the flights were not ready and so on. And there were issues about delay in paying the workers and so on. Around that time, our financial desk, our business desk, used a story, or I would say the newsroom, GTV newsroom, carried a story about Ghana International Airlines. And I think it didn't go down well with some people. Actually, we didn't get any direct bashing or query or anything from government per se. But the Director General of the organization had an issue with us. And to the extent that at a point, 4 of my colleagues were interdicted. Yes, 4 of them. 2 were senior editors. 1 was also an editor, a sub-editor. 1 was my peers, somebody of my ranking. We had come together from the institute. So that is an experience. You know, that sometimes things happen, but you may not be able to. That you didn't
carry a good story or what?
Not that we didn't carry a good story. We innocently carried a story about events, issues to do with Ghana International
And is it
But
the truth? Is it the truth? Or what?
It was true.
Okay.
It was true.
So why the interdiction and the rest?
I don't, to be honest, I don't remember
the details.
every
Yes.
detail
Yeah,
of
okay.
yes, but I know that we were. I mean, if at that time even the GJA and other media-related organizations, where we fought, they were speaking for us.
Yeah.
At the point they were released, the punishment was reversed.
You see, this is where I always have challenges with some of our media managers or states. You know, they don't stand to defend reporters. You know, unless probably those reporters had a chance to do the right thing and they did the wrong thing. But was it a truthful story? Was it a fair story? If it has passed the test of truthfulness, accuracy, fairness, I don't see why those reporters should be interdicted or to be punished or whatever. Probably you might have forgotten the details.
As you said,
So yes,
the details
about 10, 12 years ago.
But you should also know that sometimes some people, you know, government, the president may not come directly to you, but
act
some
through
people,
agents.
well,
Through the
that
long
is
hands.
also possible. Or some people who are with the government of the day, they are members or sympathizers of that party, who have some power and think that this thing will not help the image of the government or something, can also take action. You understand? And as I said, I don't have all the details.
Yeah.
So I will not try to.
Yeah,
but
let's
there
not
are,
go further
we can, you know, see the examples like that. Things like that do happen.
And I want you all to share with us, because the way you are smiling back at me, I get the feeling that really something of that sort has happened before. Who would want to go first?
Well,
Felix or Mrs. Peasah?
2014, I did a story about how Temamoto government is making a lot of money, because we're told that 30,000 cars fly that road daily. So we calculated the money, how much they were making weekly, monthly, and then yearly, and still the motorway has been the same. So we wanted to do further interview, and to be frank with you, the calls we were receiving to massage the story, and we said, no, it's not going to work that way. So we pushed the story out, and I can tell you, it was a hell for some of us. The calls kept on coming, and then we even received a press release that will suit, you know, what
the situation.
The situation. We said we're not going to publish it. So many text messages here and there, and this I also had a similar problem with the Ghana Airways staff. It was hectic, really hectic, around the 2000 thereabout. So there are so many occasions where sometimes they may not come, they'll pass through PR agency. Sometimes your own colleagues. So we shall see you. You just push these stories, do it for us. We shall see you.
What do you mean by we shall see you?
You know that we'll give you
sort
money.
you out.
We'll sort you out.
Okay.
And I said, well, you can't sort us out if the thing is good. Why do you want to sort us out? What they even wanted us to write with the promises up to now, since 2014 when the story was done, it has never been fulfilled. So suppose we push the story that way, what will the public, you know, judge us? So there are so many occasions. Sometimes those bold ones will come to you and say, hey, why ABC? Can you do this? Sometimes they push it through PR agencies or push it through your own colleagues to come in and then talk to you so that you can do their bidding for them.
Wow, Mrs. Peasah.
Yeah, I also had a personal experience. we had sent out a story, you know, because we are a wire service.
Yeah.
The person read the story, the soft copy. The story was already out anyway, and then this was a big government official in those days. And then he called to say that I should add a statement to the story to suit his party. And I said it could not be done. It is not done. I said it is not done. the policy doesn't allow me to do that. And he said, you know what? Do you know whom you are talking to? And I said, sir, I know. I can even hear your voice. But then, I'm sorry, in this particular instance, I cannot help you because we have not been trained for that. You know, there was a long argument because he thought that maybe he could put some fear into me, he could frighten me, to buy his idea. But I told him right away that there was no way I was going to do it. But then, the best I could do for him was to give him my superior's number. If my boss says that we should do it, then I'll be out of the situation. So I don't have. But then I think on a second thought, he realized that it is impossible because I made him understand clearly from the beginning that I won't do it and it will not work. So the matter ended there.
Okay, Lloyd. Any such experience?
Oh,
editorial content policy.
Yeah, if the paper or the news station or the agency has a very strong editorial policies, some of these things will not happen. And again, if journalists don't put themselves into political shoes, you know, it will not happen. Again, if you have a strong management team that always stand by their reporters, these things will never happen. But if you don't get all these things, obviously it will happen. And the reporter is being overexposed. At times, you even have editors pushing their reporters to go and face the music instead of they going to face the music to, you know, defend their reporters. They just push the reporters. So when you do that, you weaken the fabric of the newsroom. When they see a story and it's a good story, they have to pursue. They say, hey, this one, you pursue, you have a problem. Then they leave it. But if we have strong editors, strong media owners, you know, going by the truth, by fairness, you know, being watchdog to society, you know, journalists will always be up and doing, and they will do what is expected of them.
Yeah,
and
but
nobody
Lloyd,
can.
well said and done. But you still haven't answered my question of have you, in particular.
Oh, yes.
Do you have an experience?
Yes. That
where
was
a politician interfered with your work?
Not a politician as such, but I think an individual. I did a story some years back. I can't remember. At that time, this man was then the Deputy Speaker, Jirasa, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. And you could see how far. You know, yes, Ken Jirasa. And there was an investigation. I think I did a story, and it prompted, you know, investigations. And I appeared before Jirasa, and he interviewed me and then took my, you know, facts and figures and everything. Then the one whom the story was going against, you know, one rainy day, it was raining very heavily, and I don't know how he managed to know my house. I just can't think of it. But this guy came to my house. It was raining heavily. Myself, my brothers, my mother, we were all sitting down, and then, you know, he started talking. Then at a point, he said, "Oh, can we go out and talk?" And I said, "Oh, it is raining, and it's raining very heavily. I mean, I can't." You know, so if I had succumbed, he could have taken me out. What will happen? You know, I might not know. He came in a company of another person. So I said, no. If for nothing at all, let us meet tomorrow at the office. And that ended the case. So you see, as a journalist, you must always be fair. Know what you are about. So far as you are speaking the truth, so far as you have the facts, no matter what. I quite remember one of my reporters did a story on Maslock. And the woman or the person or the head, you know, was annoyed, and, you know, he called the boy and they started bashing him. And I said, look, let me deal with that person, but not you. But I sent you, and I published, so I owe that responsibility. And we drove to the office. I said, yes, what is your beef? What's the problem? I was trying to, you know, massage, you know, what he had told the boy already, you know. And again, I had another story. One of my ladies did a story, and, you know, it didn't go down well with a deputy minister of state. He was then with, I think, trade or so. And then he called me, and he wanted to chastise about that. Oh, you know, she's a novice, and that is what I said. I said, what you said, that's what she wrote. So if you have any problem, not the lady who wrote the story, come and deal with me. Come and deal with me as the editor of the paper. Come and deal with me. And it was like, but yes, a strong, you know, we were exchanging words. And I didn't care whether he was a deputy minister. Yes, I didn't care about that. I said, look, you politicians say things, and when you know, it is fire, you know, then you start blaming reporters. But I will not take, and that I have been in this business quite a long time, so I know how you people are, and that's where he became offended. It took another guy, you know, beside me to calm me down. We
But how many of such editors do we have in the system now? Your kind, where we would want to be at the forefront and defend our reporters anytime there's a problem. Do we have such?
Well,
yeah, I think I always stand by my reporter if there are issues like this, because at least the reporter has a notebook. So in most cases, I think it happened some time ago. I'll take your notebook and read through your notes, because the reporter will not be writing from space. The person is writing from what you are saying. So if I go through the notebook, right, and I see that what is on paper is what she has or he has, then I think I'll have no option but to defend the person. Because when we it's like Yaa Oforiwa Asare, she said some time ago that when we sing your music, then you are happy. But then when we try to correct you, no, it's not like we are even punishing you. We are correcting you, then you are angry. I mean, she wrote about a hotel. The hotel was, you know, inaugurated with a lot of fanfare. 1 year after, she followed up, and then the whole thing was in shambles, and she wrote the story, and the people were angry. She said, when I gave you all the good story the other time, you were so happy. Now there are problems that we need to correct. Then you are angry. In that particular instance, I will stand by my reporter, and then we do what's the right thing.
But how do we deal with the stumbling blocks of politicians or individuals who have interest in the stories interfering with our work almost now and then?
It looks like our politicians or individuals, as soon as they can put their pen to paper and write something, they think that's all about journalism. So they can also write. I get a call from people who say, look, I can also write. Journalism is not take a pen, paper, write. Writing is nothing. I've done history at the University of Ghana. I can write. Even exam time, they ask us to write 1,500 words. We do write. But you see, that's purely different from journalism. The stumbling block will definitely come, but it got to us to also be very objective, the objectivity we are all talking about, and being fair, and know that this is a noble profession. Whatever you put out there, somebody cannot sit outside there and then be able to control your editorial policy, because you play a very important role. So whatever you put out there, and then the public chance upon it, that is it. The least mistake, if you joke with your role as a gatekeeper, the least mistake creates a lot of tension in the system. So for the stumbling block, it will come all right, but we got to be firm and also defend our reporters. For instance, in an organization, we say, look, if you are bringing any scoop, back it up with voice, or you have a document, back it up. So if I'm putting the news out there, I know that, look, I have something to stand on. If someone is fighting you forget about the reporter. I will come in because I know about the story. I know of the document that you have to back the story. So if I'm defending, I'm better informed to be able to, you know, deal with the issue. So the stumbling block will come always. But look, we got to be firm, get our facts right. There you go. Yeah.
Eben.
Yeah, I would not like to belabor the point. I mean, they will come. Nowhere cool. I mean, there are problems everywhere. In our work, there are stumbling blocks. We have to be careful. I have not had the case where a reporter has a problem and maybe I have to defend the person, but I'm prepared to do that. Okay. It's a good example I learned from my seniors. Yeah, so the blocks will always come.
And then again, you know, as editors, we should, as much as possible, try not to, you know, compromise issues, you know, in such a way that we will be depending on the politicians for special favors. Immediately we start doing that, or we do that, you compromise yourself. Now he or she can use you and misuse you, and you know,
and dump you,
and you know, I mean, be fair, be resolute, you know, take decisions which are fair. You see, so that is for you, the editor, to do. You shouldn't succumb to the whims and caprices of politicians. No.
Okay, you shouldn't succumb to the whims and caprices of the politician. We are still discussing the role of news editors in ensuring a peaceful election on your own news channel, GBC24. My name is Rebecca Ewa, and this show is proudly supported by Health West Ghana, Ashrifia Ware, and also supported by LAS Liberty School in 43 Kinshasa Avenue, East Legon. We'll be back shortly. I have some of your messages here, and I'll read them shortly.
So in our day-to-day practice of journalism, we get the opportunity to write on a litany of issues ranging from politics, business, health, religion, and what have you. We seek to bring this experience onto one platform, the Reporters Roundtable. My name is Maurice Ogbete. Watch the Reporters Roundtable on GBC24 every Thursday.
I'm a reporter. In 2012, I covered the elections extensively, but I never got an opportunity to tell you the stories behind the stories. This time around, there's a Reporters Roundtable where I, together with some of my colleagues, will be telling you the stories behind the stories.
You most welcome back to the program that tells it from all angles and from all sides, and we have our news editors here. I have some of your messages. This one says, I am Gideon Ahenkra with the GNA. I wish to commend Mrs. Yaa Oforiwa Asare, the GNA editor, for her unflinching adherence to the professional benchmarks of accuracy, objectivity, and credibility in her editorial works. I concur with her on the point that GNA continues to be highly credible. That is what Ghana needs. This one is a pure advertisement for GNA. This one also says that, my name is Arta from Teman. What you are saying is very good. That is what we need as a country. Your editors should be up to the task, not as some people do by frequently pausing to pass comments in favor of their political parties. That is not journalism. Thank you very much, Arthur. Mr. Aryee, let me come to you. What are the challenges that you face aside the politicians interfering with your work? Are there any other challenges there are as an editor?
Of course there are. Being an editor, a news editor, I would say it's not easy. Not easy because in a given day when you come to work, there are a lot of things you have to do. In fact, a lot of things you have to juggle. You receive so many calls. So many people want their events covered, and you have to go get them covered. And we don't have the tools or even the personnel to cover everything. Aside of that, there are people who, first, we don't have the personnel, we don't have the logistics to do everything. So we select. We have to pay attention to the most important. But we have a situation where some events which will actually should not be part of our news bulletin, we are being forced to cover. And there are times when somebody knows somebody. You understand? There is a small event, something that may not necessarily, does not need to be in the news. But some people think that they want the event to be aired. Or they themselves want to appear on TV or something. I mean, I'm being very frank with you. Sometimes is worrying. You know, so they lobby. They go around. Sometimes they go and see, you know, somebody somewhere, an influential person, to compel you to cover the event. You understand? And it's stressful. You go through all these things. And so it's a kind of work that if you are not very patient, sometimes you burst out at people. Sometimes you speak to people in a way that they may not feel comfortable with. But it's the pressure that is put on us. Sometimes we don't even have the tools to cover certain events. But there is pressure on you, you have to go. You have to. You understand? Then also, we have a deadline. You have to meet a deadline. I don't know how the newspaper's case is, but for those of us in the electronic media, if we have to go at 6 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock. If we have to go at 7 p.m., it's 7. And especially now that we are in competition, of course, we have always been in competition, but I think now it is even more keener. Yeah. If it is 7 o'clock and you are not ready to go on air, the people who are ready to watch your news, if you are not ready, they switch to other stations. So you have to be ready. But sometimes we may have a machine breakdown, so your best story cannot go as the first item. You understand? Sometimes there are other factors. So, you know, you have to be running. Then there are times also that reports come. In fact, at the 11th hour, it is one thing that I find interesting is it doesn't happen with other professions. Maybe it is only with the news, especially when you have TV or radio. You may not have good stories. So you line up the few stories that you have. Then all of a sudden, you see the big stories coming. I mean, if you go on air with somebody donating farm tools as your first story, your viewers may be looking out for something better. You understand? So what do? When the big stories come and you have just a few minutes to go on air, what do? You have to rush to get it done. Even if it can't go as a full story, you do it halfway and put it there, and then maybe later you bring the full story. So all these situations put a lot of pressure on us. It's so stressful. You see, at times what we do is we even, I mean, these are some of the things. There are other areas I would not like to go into, but it's a very stressful way. And then also you may have, sometimes the person who has brought you the story very late is also not very conversant with the subject area, what he went to cover. Or he himself, for some maybe human weakness or something, did not do the best on location. So you come and then you realize that no, certain questions, there are important missing links in the story. How do you put the story together for it to go on air? For it to sound as something worth listening to or watching? You see, so you the editor, you have to do the magic. You know, it's not easy.
That's the word I was looking for all this while.
It is
doing
not
the
easy.
magic.
You go through all kinds of, you know, stress just to ensure that at least you put your best foot forward. You don't go with the weak, the worst. You put something good on there. So it's a very stressful way. Yeah.
You wanted to add something, Mrs. Peasah?
Yes. I think that I agree with him 100%. The news editor's work is very stressful. Very, very stressful and challenging. You know what? I'll tell you a story of my former boss. He used to be having low BP. His BP was always low. But before he left as a news editor, he had high BP, high blood pressure. Yes. Because number one, you don't sleep. You are always nosing, listening. People will come with different issues. Sometimes, see, you are busily working on a story. Then somebody will come, I need attention. A whole lot of issues. I remember one instance. In those days, my boss would say, like, yeah, let's mop up and go, because you have to clear the table. In our case, you have to clear all the stories before you go home. And you know, we find so many stories in a day because we are a news agency. My boss will say, let's clear the table before we go. You sit down and work. By the time you think that you are done, then a new issue will come. If the present story comes, you can't leave. If the first lady's story comes, you can't leave. You have to stay and do it, because by the time you come back tomorrow, it's no news, and we're talking about news here. So it makes the work very stressful. I remember when Iyoko brought this report on Woyome. It was a huge document. My boss had left. I was the only one left. I don't even think there was any reporter around, but I happened to be around at that time. And I was forced to sit back and do the story before I left for the house. And you see, you are already tired after 6 o'clock. You have worked all throughout the day. And then around 6, they bring you this report. And you have to read and bring out the salient points. My sister, it's no joke. But then, that's the profession. I always have a story to tell. When I was employed initially at the agency, you know, in those days we were doing 24 hours 7. And I went on assignment, and very early in the morning on a Saturday, I left from around 6:37. I came back at 11 p.m. My husband was angry. Why? Even those who went under the mines, they are out there. So what are you doing? You understand? You understand? These are some of the issues. And if you are an editor and your reporter has brought a story that late and it's very topical, there's no way you can leave the story to go back to go home and sleep. You have to sit back, sitting all day. Sometimes, I remember when I started news editing, sometimes from morning till 4, I would not have taken breakfast. Because I live very far away from Accra. So I leave the home at 5. I leave the house at 5:30. By 6:37, I'm in the office, and then the stories will start coming. Because we are not dealing with Accra alone, we're dealing with the regions and the district. So we sit there. Before I realize it is 4 o'clock, I haven't eaten. You understand? Now I'm battling what is it? Ulcer. Stomach ulcer because of the profession. I'm battling BP. You see, these are some of the things. If you don't take care, you break down. But then we always have God behind us. And then in my case, my subordinates are also very supportive. Very, very. I have 2 deputies who are also very supportive. Sometimes if I'm not able to come and I make a call, they will take over and do the work. My subordinates are always on hand to help. So I rely on everybody a lot. That is what has helped me to come this far.
Great. Dela,
They've said it all.
They said it all, but how have you been able to manage the stress?
Well, as for stress, it always comes. You go to, for instance, food aspect.
Because usually people see us and they think all is well and all of that. You barely take time off your duty to to have some fun.
That's why we say journalism is a calling. I mean, you leave home very happy. You come to work. By the time you are out, you have a headache. And
you are the most isolated person.
Yeah.
But everybody thinks you have people around you almost every time.
I mean, other reporters can go on holiday. You can't go on holiday. Your social life is totally cut off. Yeah. People called you, say, are you around? You say you are around. Always you are in your newsroom. So you realize that no time to eat. A reporter has gone for an assignment. You bring the story. Sometimes write it anyhow. You have to rewrite the whole story. While you are not even there, it's even difficult. But the reporter takes that story and win an award. You get it? Yeah. But people don't know that those who work on that story are behind the scenes. Those are the editors. Yeah. So it's a challenge. But as Auntie Emma, this is the profession we were called into. It's a calling. It's always said it's not a gold mine. So you always balance it. And there we go. God is on our side.
Yeah, it's very true. You know, when the stress starts coming in, then other related health issues to drop. And then you have a problem, because I quite remember in Graphic we lost 2 news editors. They were in active position. We lost them, and a deputy news editor. It could be part of their stress and eating habits and other things. So it's a very stressful situation. And then again, what creates bigger and major problem when you begin to get so much interference from a section of management. It's also add up, some of these things. Each time there's an issue, then management is on your neck. It's also add up with the stress. Instead of them trying to fashion things to make sure that you are comfortable, they rather add those things up. So it's a very big challenge, and I think we've spoken about the eating habits. They are the poorest. They have the poorest eating habits. And when this happens, your health situation is seriously compromised. And management, in most newsrooms should take a critical look at that issue, so that news editors will not be there 7 days a week. At least, if for nothing at all, the thing should be structured in such a way that at least you should have compulsory 2 days off to relax and to do a few other social things that can bring you back. These are some of the things that I think management in the newsroom should look at. It's just an advice, it's just a suggestion, so that we won't get these, problems. The logistics have been well taken care of, and then the internal, interference. Well, we all do it. So can you push this small story for me? Can you do this for me? I mean, it's normal. These are nothing, to write home about. But when you get management interference, always giving you additional headaches, in addition to what you get externally. Well, they're all there. Your home is there. Your friends outside there. The politicians are there.
You lose friends because of the job.
The businessmen who are there.
Salary.
What did you say? Would you want to repeat that?
You lose your friend, you lose your family with bigger salary.
So these are some of the things that we should also take care of.
All right, so it is still the Reporters Roundtable, and I have this one here says, I love the topic you're discussing today. Even though we're all expecting something from the Woyome interrogation saga, you swayed us, and that is good of you. Love this program. GBC24, kudos. This is from your school mother, Sarah Kwache. Oh, okay, Sarah. Thank you very much, Sarah Kwache. That's from you. But Mrs. Pearson, there is this eminent Supreme Court Judge, Justice Bawakamba, who has said that media outlets should employ lawyers so that they scrutinize the stories that are churned out by the outlets. Let me find out from you. Do you think it's a good suggestion, especially in an election year, and considering the operation of the newsroom?
Yeah, I think on paper it's a good suggestion, but I will not take that for specific reasons, several reasons. Number one, in my establishment, for instance, we don't even have money to run the office. So how are we going to pay a lawyer to be going through our stories? It will be difficult. So that's out. Number two, I think the media training institutions have, some components that talk about these legal aspects, like the law of defamation and libel. So as an editor or even a journalist, before he comes out of the training institution, he will have this at the back of your mind. And then we want to use it at any point in time so that you don't put yourself and your organization into trouble. Then number three, in my office, for instance, we always have lawyers who are journalists. As I sit here, we have 2 of them working for us now. So for us to go out there will be
a non-starter.
Yes. So if you are trained to do this particular work, the GJ has given us some ethics to work with. The Media Commission has ethics for us to work with. So if we abide by all these rules and regulations, I don't think that we will need to hire a lawyer to come and help with our work.
She has said all. I think every good journalist should know that this story is good. This will give us trouble. This will not give us trouble. Back this way, I was a former delegate. We have a lawyer in that regard, where if we are not too sure about certain things, he comes in to, advise. But the question is, how many organizations, especially the private ones, could be able to afford to pay for the services of a lawyer? So if you are well trained, pass through a very good journalism institutions, you should be able to know that, look, if I do this story, it's good, not going to launch us into trouble. If I push this story, it could be able to do A, B, C, D. So I side with and that one will not hold.
Well, no, in an election year, because he is stressing on the fact that no, to avoid trouble, to avoid the problems that comes with, and now that we have these court issues and legal issues flying in our faces here and there.
For me, I think it is not a bad idea. When Auntie Yaa started, one point she made was that we might not have the money to pay a lawyer. But what if you need an additional hand of somebody in another profession? You have to pay. For me, I think that if you have a lawyer in the newsroom, it will be a bonus. It will help because we cover not just court reports, but events that entail legal issues. And sometimes the good thing about the newsroom is that you have a number of people. You may be lucky to have a court reporter who is very conversant with legal jargons and things and will help you, you see. Or you yourself, based on how, But if you have a lawyer, the lawyer has spent so many years in school. It is his or her profession. He is better versed in that area. So he can help you. There are times when reports come before you, there are legal terminologies and things. Some of them, even though you may have read around it or you have been taught, you don't have depth in that area. So you have doubt, you are not very sure. If you have a lawyer who can explain it to you, I think that will help. Because some of those things can also land you into trouble if you don't know how to handle these legal issues. And a lawyer can also advise the organization, the newsroom, in many ways. Of course, the journalism profession entails an aspect of law. There's something called press law. So we are taught some of the basic things about law. So yes, you know some of the things, but you may not have an in-depth knowledge. So if you should have a lawyer in the newsroom, I think it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. So that is my view.
You're smiling.
Yeah, you see, I don't know why we have to bring lawyers into the room, into the newsroom. In the first place, you went on an assignment. You are doing a story. Did you speak to that man there? Yes or no? You spoke to him. So if you come and write your story, and you never spoke to that man, why do you have to put it there? Will that lawyer sitting in your newsroom know that you spoke to A or B? He or she will not know. You see, we must be very factual in whatever we do.
In this case, I think you are reacting specifically to court events.
Yeah, something that the eminent judge has said.
Did the man mention court events or court reporting?
No. He didn't say that.
General reporting.
Especially during an election year.
Because if you say,
he emphasizes on an election
year. You are asking whether the man spoke or not. I know that if you are covering the court or events around the court, everything happens in camera. And then the lawyers come out and grant interviews to the reporters. So you don't know.
No. In court is an open place. Yes, so that at the end of the day, you do not understand an issue.
Yes.
The lawyer for that particular party is there, why don't you go to him or her for further
or the court clerk?
Even leave the court clerk for further, interpretation. Get to the other party's lawyer. Ask him or her what transpired or the meaning of certain things. You put them together. You have been very fair. Why do you have to use legal jargons in your story? You are writing for an ordinary man on the street.
What if that becomes necessary? You see, you are speaking like a reporter on location. You are an editor.
Yes.
And a reporter brings a story.
Yes.
Yeah, that has.
And there are aspects that are a little bit rooted in law. You may not be in a good position.
So in that case, nothing prevents you from calling a lawyer to explain certain things to you.
That is what I guess
so it will mean,
is saying.
Yeah, it will mean that with those also working on the economic desk or business desk, you need to employ an economist.
Yes.
You get it? So we kept on employing other professionals in the newsroom.
Then the doctor.
Because I had no need to be an economist, but I'm working on a business desk. If I don't understand something, I call an economist to explain it to me. So it's the same.
I said it will not be a bad idea. It will be a bonus, if you remember. I'm not suggesting that we must necessarily have a lawyer in the newsroom. But if we had the ideal situation, I mean, if it is easy, if it is possible, if, let's say, we are working for a private news organization, or even for the state news organization, and management, or those at the top, think that it is necessary for us to have a lawyer in the newsroom. For me, it will help us. It will be, that's our quality bonus.
Of course, every organization, media organization should have a legal team or something.
It helps anyway.
We do, but their role, they may not
it's distant from the newsroom.
Yes. So I think that it is not bad. It makes it easier.
Yeah, of course, because I want to agree with Eben here, because as I said earlier on, most of the time, some of our journalists branch into law. So at any point in time at the agency, we have a journalist who is a lawyer. Now, as I sit here, there's one person who goes through all our core stories before they go out. Even if I've edited, even if the sub-editors have edited, he will have to go through it before it goes out. So it goes out to help. But then,
out of the story.
Sorry?
Then you take all the flavors out of the story.
You see, so if you have a person like that on hand,
because I know there are some newsroom that has they have created a desk for a legal team.
Yes,
maybe head of legal.
We have that desk.
Yeah, okay.
So the head, who used to be a general journalist, reporting generally, he in fact
now
was doing
turns a lawyer.
Yes, now turned a lawyer, and then he's looking at all our core stories. It helps anyway, but I wouldn't go out there to hire somebody to come and be going through all the stories before they go out.
You see, my challenge is, why do you have to transfer the events which happen in the jargons and the expressions that were used? You the reporter yourself, you don't understand those jargons, and then you've transported those jargons into the story. What are you doing to your readers?
It's not right.
It's just like a business story, then you start using all the jargons. You haven't done anything. You have to explain those things. So as a journalist, that's why we do a bit of media law, so that we understand some of these little things. And you must also learn to be improving on yourself, so that when you are writing, you write fluently, devoid of jargons and terminologies which doesn't make any sense to the ordinary reader or listener. We are doing a disservice to them if we transport everything from the law books.
Yeah, of course.
You may not be transporting the jargons into the story.
Yeah, sometimes you are really faced with the reality where there are press statements, because I remember some time back there was this man who was suing GBC or something. The person wrote a press statement, what it entails, why he's suing the corporation and all of that. And it comes to the newsroom directly. You understand? They bring the press statement. So with that, if you are a news editor and the person is a lawyer himself who is suing the corporation and brings in all these jargons, and you're faced with such things. So it's a reality.
Sometimes there are certain words, it's not that you are transferring jargon. I mean, the public is also learning from us.
Yes.
Sometimes there are certain words that you need to use. It's not that they may not even sound big, but you need to understand them before you use them. And even if they sound big, we live society is still learning. We are all learning, and people learn from the news. So if a word is used and you don't understand, you may go and look it up in a dictionary or something, or you may ask somebody.
Google.
Look, it is not only lawyers. If this man is suggesting that we should have a lawyer, that is why I agree with Felix. That if that is the case, then we should also have an economist and all that. But it will not be bad. There are times when I feel that we should even have somebody with medicine background. Because at West Camp, I don't know the difference. In an example, the key difference between a cardiologist and a heart surgeon. These are two things that are closely related. Now, who is there to explain it to me? For instance, there is a story, a health story, and such a thing is before me. Which one will I choose? You see, so if you have somebody like that who is a professional in that area, you can help. Why do we specialize?
Yeah,
there are room settings where you have people specialize. You have medical reporter, you have political reporter, sports and all that.
Yeah.
What I have seen in Ghana, if you are talking about specialization, you only see sports, business, you know,
Health.
some of those things.
But
But there are certain places where you have various, I mean, you can't have specialization in every area, okay, but there are some key things that, so an example is the medicine that I mentioned.
We are seeing it that way, but I think they do know.
And the NMC will always tell you that they don't have the power. You know, recently, recently there was, they sent something to Parliament or to. There is.
Is it
the broadcasting?
You know, the broadcasting law.
The NMC feels that will empower it to bite or to work more effectively. But the Ghanaian society is not ready for that. Or some groups of people think that it is going to gag the media. You know, so these are some of the problems. I think that, like you said, there should be an institution that is dictatorial, as you said, positively dictatorial. They should take a firm action against people who are pushing our country into something very bad. So I think that is what.
Okay. We have few days to election 2016, and we are looking at the news editor's role in ensuring a peaceful election. And it is on this platform, the only platform for the media, for the kind of job I do, so that we can interact, we can talk about our work and all that there is to it. And this program is proudly supported by Health West Ghana, a new dimension in wellness, Ashrifia, where yes, I rock Ashrifia, and also by LAS Liberty School in East Legon. We are back, and I have more messages in here. Just stay right there.
Join Becky and other colleague journalists on Reporters Roundtable this and every Thursday.
My name is Rebecca Ewa. Keep watching the Reporters Roundtable on GBC24 this and every other Thursday.
You're most welcome back. I'm glad that you were able to stay. And some messages in here says, I am Gideon. Journalists have professional code of ethics as stated by Mrs. Peasah. If all members of the Inky fraternity adhere strictly to these code of ethics, they can stay free from legal traps. Media ethics and law is taught in all journalism schools to help journalists understand the legal system and their rules. Thank you very much. This one says, I am Cecilia DSOP. I want to applaud people like you and Auntie Yaa and other diligent editors whom you have on your set who strive to make the media in Ghana a more credible one. Thank you very much, Auntie Cecilia. Okay. Let me play the devil's advocate. Let me start with you, Lloyd. I hear that as there's this grapevine that as news editors, even though you don't go out to report on location, you sit in the comfort of your offices, and you are giving fat sums of money, especially to skew political stories in favor of one party or the other, or one political candidate or the other. How true is that? First, who brings the money? Is it management? I just want to find out. We are giving. So who gives? Who is the giver? The one who wants you to massage the story. No. It's untrue. Totally untrue. There's nothing like that. A news editor has been a reporter before. So if people say that they don't go out, they've been out several times, several years. They've been regional reporters, they've been other desk reporters, coming to the news desks, to become news editors. So they know the terrain. And I don't think anybody influences any news editor to skew a story. No. Even you, the reporter, whose story has been massaged, you will be angry when you see it the next day. You have every right to confront the news editor. And then again, the news editor is not the final person who decides what goes out. He's not. There are about 3-4 layers of editors that will have to go through. Finally, at a news, editorial conference, where you have the rest of the editors there. Times they are 10, they are 12, they are 15. Sometimes people say that, your headline was written from the castle. And all these things are false. I've been in the newsroom for nearly 3 decades, and I haven't seen any story going out to the castle or to wherever to have the headlines, given. So some of these things are people, imagination. But to be honest with you, they are false. There's no iota of truth. Probably, if a news editor does his work well, and someone at Christmas or Easter, and the person brings an hamper or something, that is different. We all get hampers. Go to other state institutions and private institutions. By the first week of, I'm sure it has even started. You see the hampers, flying. But there's a directive that it should cease. Cease from where? Yeah. It's still being done.
It's thank you.
Yes, it's just thank you to show appreciation. There's nothing your birthday, So if I want to give a reporter anything, I can do it anytime, anywhere, that is you. So giving something to influence a reporter or a journalist or a news editor to skew, no. I don't think that. Maybe there are some infractions here and there, but I don't think that is the norm, that news editors are bribed to skew stories or articles. Then I wish I could have had that when I was the editor for a paper. I would have been rich. Yeah. Eben, have you had that call?
I have not. I have not. And as Mr. Lloyd Evans said, whatever goes out finally has been scrutinized by a number of editors. I mean, there is an editorial hierarchy. So it is not you, the one sitting at the desk, who does the final thing. at a point you all meet at a conference and decide finally what goes. In fact, there are times when you look at some stories and it goes out. Yes, but it doesn't happen. If there's anything that influences an editor's attitude towards a story, so to speak, especially with political issues or political events, there should be the editor's personal biases or maybe his political leaning or something.
Okay.
And even in that case, you are monitored, you have
Other peers.
your peers look at what is going on. It doesn't happen. That may be possible with a small newspaper that has maybe 1 or 2 people running it. But for me at GBC, how does it happen? We have a whole lot of people, you know, so it's not possible. But people can imagine anything about us. And we are not angels, so I'm not surprised, but it doesn't really happen.
Dela, is your paper a small newspaper who receives?
Never. I've never received any call of that sort before. The person is even afraid that, hey, if I call this person right now and say, look, I'm bringing you money to be able to influence the story, whatever, if you publish it, hey, I'm here to bribe the editor. So, I mean, I've never received such a call before, and it will never happen to. And sometimes news editors
Are
will
you
go
that confident?
out. Very confident.
Okay.
News editors also, sometimes they go out. There are some, even events, they will tell you that, okay, we want to see only the editor because they can be able to understand, you know, the program. So sometimes you also go out, or you want to chase a story on your own. So that is fallacy, that's not true.
Fallacy it is or not?
Yes, it is, because you see, if you work for a state institution like ours, like Lloyd said, confirm
Ebenezer.
You see, as I said earlier on, we have sub-editors. So if I decide to, you know, embellish a portion of the story, the next person will look at it and say,
Story.
yes, something is cooking. And I wouldn't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
So why should I go and do it? If you are talking about gift, for that one, Christmas time, because we never go out. Christmas time, if you get me a hamper, beautiful hamper, I will wholeheartedly receive it. Yes, because I think that it's a thank you, and for thank you, nobody refuses a thank you. So yeah, so I wouldn't think that somebody. I have a particular instance, but that one was not even to influence the story. There was this queen mother who came to. She should have brought a press release. She didn't have, so we sat down, and I made my reporter do a story for her. Interviewed her and did a story. So after that, she said she was saying thank you, and I said no, we don't do it, and she was hurt. She was hurt that she's a queen mother and she wants to give me something in appreciation for what I've done, and I said no, and she was hurt. But I said that it is not done. We write stories for free. We don't take payment for writing stories, and that wasn't.
But what do you need special preparations heading towards every election as editors?
Yes.
Tell us about it quickly. Yeah.
Yes, you need to plan. You need to get a plan for the coverage. Planning in terms of budgeting. You have to make a budget, prepare a budget as to how much you will need for the coverage. You need to train your reporters, because election is every 4 years. 4 years is quite long, so you need to train your reporters. Maybe there are new people on the list that need to go through some kind of training, so have to train them and prepare their minds. You have to get your contacts. You see, sometimes, like we were saying, if you are doing a story and there's something that you are not too clear, you need to get a contact that you can always call and get the follow up. What is it? You get what you are looking for. Then you also still need those contacts to follow up some of the issues, because if you tell me something today, I need to call you again to find out what the situation is at the moment. So all those things go into preparation towards a good and credible election reporting.
You tell them not to mention declare results anyway. It's also very important. And some security issues as well. I mean, you send a reporter out there, and violence about to happen, you know how you can be able to escape. It's also very key in those areas. So training is key, and your budget as well.
And you as the editor, do you go through some sort of training as well, aside the journalists that you plan for?
Education
Definitely.
has no end. Education has no end. Even when I have students or service person that I orientate, I tell them that education doesn't end. We are all learning. We learn something every day. You understand? So we all go through the process, one after the other, and then we are done.
And then one other key point is that, you know, during the course of the training, you have to make sure that your reporters don't put themselves in the story. You know, they have to put their political biases aside and do the right thing. If you have to, you know, give out or, you know, allocate a reporter to each presidential candidate, you should know how to go about it. You know, you come out with the best ones, then you allocate it. If you have to be covering, you know, rallies and other, you know, political issues, you have to apportion them how you know, apportion them. You wouldn't just look at only one side. You know, at least all the players in the political field should be given equal chance, equal you know, opportunities, have the contacts of the main you know, institutions, you know, so that whatever happens, you will be able to get the police. You must always be in touch with the police too, you know, as well.
The
so
police, the NCC,
yeah, all of them.
Key institutions that will help the work.
So in some instances, they put up a whole team by them. You know, the institution put up a whole team. If 20 people.
In fact, here at GBC, we had a training not long ago.
Yes,
all of us, both editors and reporters of all rankings went there. So, you know, and it's basically the same rules, but we are reminded.
Yes.
You know, so that, you know, we are in the election period. So don't do this, do that, and do that. So we always have that training.
Okay. So
at times you are even told that do not put a political T-shirt or political apparel or you know, at least to signify that you are belong to. I mean, be neutral. You know.
Okay. Finally, before we go, what do you make? Let me start with you, Ben. What do you make of the tribal sentiments, ethnocentrism, put out there by our politicians when they mount the political platforms? And my question specifically would be that, who is to blame? Is it the reporter who goes there, or the editor who ensures that the story passes through the mail?
Yeah, I will blame the reporter, and that's why we have training around this time. The politician who spoke like that, who tried to highlight ethnic, you know, religious issues, he spoke in a locality. Let's say a rally was held at Mankesim. It was heard by the people around. And if you are working for GBC, for instance, you don't have to make it national by putting it on there for people around this country to hear. That is why we edit. And you, the reporter on location, you do some level of editing. It's not everything you have to bring to us. Let's say the camera recorded it, but you don't have to write your report, you know, including those things. And then when it comes to the editor, you make sure those are out. But the difficulty, the risk is that you may not see the reporter, the script may not suggest to you that there's going to be anything like that until you watch the video. Yes, so I blame the reporter, but I also blame the reporter first, especially as far as news is concerned, because it's our duty to ensure that the bad thing doesn't go out. That is our gatekeeping role. But political leaders trying to fund, you know, ethnic feelings and you know, is bad. But I think that a lot of campaign has gone against that. So I'm not seeing much of that. They do it indirectly sometimes. And for me, people voting for a particular presidential candidate because he hails from their area is nothing peculiar to Ghana, and it's not bad. You know, anywhere, people's affinity, you know, is very important, or it becomes an issue when you are making choices. It is not, but in Ghana, we are lucky. It is not only, apart from a few areas where the party's strongholds, where the candidates appear to have more votes, but many of our candidates have got a lot of votes from areas that they do not come from.
Okay.
But then the electorate, the voters sometimes look at the root of the party, so that many of them, people are born into families that belong to party A or party B, so they end up and so on. So for me, that is it.
Okay.
Even beyond our borders, in the US and any other places, there are particular areas that vote more for particular political parties. But I think that with time we will get there. I don't think that.
Dela, please, your comment. Who is to blame for fanning the flame? Is it the politician, the journalist, or the editor?
You blame all. The politician wants to win election, wants to say something. The reporter gets there, say, look, this is newsworthy. He brings it. And then you being an editor, the gatekeeper, you also allow it to go. You blame the tree. That's what I said at the beginning, that if we stop giving publicity to those comments, and then a politician realizes, okay, I've made it a statement, oh, it was not in the news, it has been cut off. Another time, the same thing, he will stop.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you see,
Yes,
the politicians get carried away when they mount their platforms. They do it often and often. So it is up to you as the journalist, whether you are a reporter or you are an editor, to ensure that what you are putting out there is not going to create problems. So that whatever they said, if you think that it is not right, don't put it out. Don't put it out. So I will take the blame from the reporter's angle, reporter and the editor. But for the politicians, he wants to win an election. He will do everything to get the votes. So it is up to us, to sit up and do the right thing.
Lloyd, finally.
Yeah, I think I will blame the news editor or the editor. With the reporter, well, I can't fault him or her too much. He's saying things and he's also writing. But when it gets to you, the gatekeeper, how wide are you going to open the gate, or how close are you going to have it, or what sort of hybrid are you going to do? So it is the duty, to be honest with you, is the duty of the editor and the news editor to make sure that those bad languages, expressions are out. That is your role as the editor. That is why you are called editor. You are editing what your reporter has done. So if you fail, it's not your reporter, it is you, the editor. The politicians can say whatever they have to say, but you have that critical role to play by editing the story in such a manner that these things will be out of your story.
Right, so all said and done, that has been it. This has been the round table with all the support from my production team, Celestine, Aryee, Max Esu, Felix Kofi, and to the technical crew, and to my panelists for sharing this depth of knowledge with us, and to you, my most trusted viewer. And let me leave you with this motivational quote, that you should know that when work, commitment, and pleasure all becomes one, and you reach that deep well where passion lives, nothing becomes impossible. And for me, with God, all things are possible. And so could it be for you. We are here same time next week, and we'll be discussing something peculiar and something that will bring about peace, so that we all live to see the Ghana that we all desire. My name is Rebecca Ewa. The show was proudly supported by Ashrifia Ware, Health West Ghana, and LAS Liberty School in East Legon. See you. I'm out of here.
Reporters Roundtable provides viewers with in-depth examination of issues reported on leading media outlets across the world. A lively panel of journalists with comprehensive knowledge in all fields of endeavor, be it politics, health, business, sports, entertainment, information, communication technology, gender, law, international affairs and diplomacy, and a host of others will objectively dissect the matter of contention. On Reporters Roundtable, fairness, objectivity, factuality, and non-partisanship is our hallmark. It's the Double RT Show with Rebecca Ewa. This and every other Thursday from 10 to 12 GMT. Make a date with us. The Reporters Roundtable, all angles, all sides.